So welcome back to the Software Circus, the spooky edition. Next up, we have Priyanka Sharma. Now, you'll notice that when you last saw me, I was wearing makeup and now I'm not. There's a reason for that. It's because I had to get from one side of London to another in a taxi and I didn't want to scare anyone. So I will reapply it during Priyanka's talk and I will make sure that I'm back in full costume after this. A few shout outs first, obviously to all of our sponsors. They're still manning the booths, so go to the virtual booth. What do we call it again? We had a word for it. The virtual booths. Anyway, they're still in there giving away spooky gifts and all sorts of fun things. We also have, I believe, 3 more hours of content after this. So if you want to know what's coming up, we still have the costume competition. I believe we're judging the pumpkins and many other interesting things, a couple of keynotes, etc. But now, with no further ado, one of my favorite people in the world, Priyanka Sharma. Are you ready?
So ready.
So
I'm not Priyanka. Who is that?
KubeCon. Although we're just before KubeCon, so I hope this isn't a foreboding for what would have been Boston.
No, this is a story of how it was so nightmarish leading up to this. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So then, Priyanka, please take it away.
Thank you, Mark. I don't know who this is Priyanka you talk about. I think she's the pumpkin lady I ate today and whose pumpkin I stole. Well, let's talk about the nightmare before KubeCon. And Mark is right. This is about the EU edition. So, hello, everyone. I am Priyanka in disguise, but I did eat a pumpkin lady, and that's why I actually decided to be the nightmare before Christmas. So, I am the general manager of the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, having ousted the fake Priyanka, and now it's going to be spooky for here onwards. In the past, I've been working in the Team Cloud Native for a very long time, since the early days. I was a contributor to the Open Tracing project, which is now morphed into Open Telemetry, and continued my Cloud Native journey, helping out founders, maintainers at Jaeger, Vitesse, everywhere anybody asked me, I was there. I was at GitLab previously working on Cloud Native Alliances, and that's where I served on the board of the CNCF. That was an amazing opportunity because I learned about just how is the magic made? How did Chris and Dan build this massively impactful juggernaut? And then I was asked to be the general manager for CNCF, and it was a dream come true because I've been part of this ecosystem for so long, and to serve this community is an honor. Just so you know, I spend a lot of time on Twitter, for better or for worse. So if you ever want to reach out to me, you always can at my handle, which is listed here, which is almost the same as my name, but not quite, because, Priyanka is a very common name in India, and all the Priyanka handles were taken. So I'm Priyanka there. My DMs are open. I'm here for any conversation at any time. I also advise companies at the Heavy Bit Accelerator, which focuses on developer products, my favorite kind. So with that said, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk a lot about the lead up to this job. But before I do, I'm just going to, just in case some of you are not aware, CNCF, or the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, is a vendor neutral home for many of the fastest growing open source projects. We focus on infrastructure technology, and our flagship project has been Kubernetes. But Kubernetes has not been our only story. It has spawned an ecosystem of cloud native, which includes 70 plus projects. That's right, 70 plus. Of those, there are many graduated ones, so they hold the same level as Kubernetes. And examples of those are Prometheus, Envoy, Jaeger, Fluentd, a bunch of others. In our 70 plus projects, we have 3 tiers: sandbox, incubation, and graduated, which it's a journey that projects take as they go through degrees of maturization, as in terms of being open governance, vibrant communities, well set up structures for contribution, and of course, end user usage. This vibrant community of projects is is based on the work of 103,000 contributors worldwide. They represent 177 countries, and there's more than 1.3 billion lines of code. For anyone who's used cloud native technologies, you know we're a foundation of doers. And what you may know is that we're building end user driven open source. I'll get into it in a little bit. But just a quick gut check. I don't know if we're doing Q&A through here, but if the chat does work, I want to see in the chat whether you're using cloud native projects, contributing to them, or if you are brand new to Team Cloud Native. So the spooky story that we're going to talk about today. As I said, I've been involved with CNCF since the very early days, and that's been awesome. When I said yes to, to serving as the general manager for CNCF, that was before the pandemic. By the time I started, we were suddenly in a completely unprecedented global scenario. Everyone was at home because of COVID-19. There were tensions and geopolitical issues around the globe, and everyone was shaken. A dream job had the potential to turn into a nightmare. For the community, for the ecosystem, for the world, definitely we were going through a nightmare. And in this world, in this environment, not only was I going to get up to speed with all the many things that a leader of a foundation like CNCF does, we were also changing things as we had to go to meet the needs of our ecosystem, achieve our goals as a foundation, push technical innovation, and keep the well-being of this community front and center. Today, we are in a Halloween mood and it's all fun and games. But when I started, things were truly bleak. For no one's fault. That's the other irony of it. So taking on this near impossible task, one of the biggest challenges that we faced, just within a month and a half of me joining, we were to host KubeCon Cloud NativeCon Europe version, which happened in August. And we had to pivot the entire event from a vast in-person experience. By the way, KubeCon Cloud NativeCons are the largest open source conferences in the world. And we had to take all of that and go from in-person to virtual. Now, for many folks, that might be like, well, you were recording talks anyway, just put them online, right? That's it, you're done. Well, no. Because when you think of KubeCon Cloud NativeCon, it's not just an event where you see talks and learn and go home. It's an aggregator for a lot of our community's efforts. That's why it's such a key part of our foundation's work. It's where SIGs meet, special interest groups meet. It's where working groups meet. It's where new communities are formed. It's where initiatives are announced. It's where people find people to work together with and to grow their efforts together. All of that is a key part of the in-person experience. And that is in addition to all the cool stories the sponsors have to tell, all the cool swag we can get, and of course, the learning and development that comes with attending these highly curated talks and sessions. So yeah, we were nervous. we were nervous for sure. So what did we learn? I mean, many of you actually may have attended this KubeCon, past KubeCon, or KubeCons in general. Actually, I'd love to see in the chat folks who have been at the event, both virtual and in person, and those who came last time. Tell me, how was your experience? As an aggregator event, KubeCon Cloud NativeCon aims to get you immersed in the cloud native ecosystem. Did you try to do that? Has that been your experience in KubeCons to date? Tell us. And while you do that, I'm going to talk about what I learned by taking this dream job in the middle of a nightmarish pandemic. So, how to move a massive community online? I mean, you all are here, so people in our community have made it work. Mark and co have organized this amazing software circus online. I got really excited, frankly, dressing up and getting ready. And you know, there are the positives of virtual where I can have my background, I can have my stolen pumpkin, and it can be a visual that I can curate. So that's been kind of fun. So as I asked, I want to see how many of you have attended KubeCon Cloud NativeCon before. As I said, it's the flagship event. It was scheduled for EU to take place in Amsterdam at the end of March. That's just when things went south. Amidst frenzy of not just, by the way, of not just changing a date, we had these nightmarish conversations around what do we do with the contracts? How do we get out of the financial liability? Is this going to tank everything? That's just a risk that's too big for the cloud native ecosystem to take. Well, first we postponed the event to August in the hopes, foolish hopes that we would be able to go back to in-person by August. And I say foolish now with the benefit of hindsight. Back then, no one knew what to expect. Then we realized that realistically, the event has to be virtual. I have to give kudos to our events and legal team. They worked through very general contracts that were the norm for all events, organizations, and venues to work through force majeures, conversations, legal details to finally get minimal financial impact on the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. Not only did we have to figure that out, we were going to need to bring the human element to an online conference. Very tricky, as you all know. There need to be a hallway track, happy hour. People were used to like petting puppies in real life. So we worked a lot on thinking through how can we leverage the online medium. The good news is it can target a lot more people than in person. And you can have a lot of more parallel stuff going on because you don't have the same constraints of physical space. Of course, we learned a lot about just how old school a lot of event platforms were and just how limiting they could be, but we made it work. I hosted Zoom happy hours, met people. We did like breakout rooms that rotated. We had our Slack channel. Our Slack was bursting with excitement and people just going at it and hanging out and talking with each other. There was one for pets that was super cute. And one of my favorite things we did was drag queen bingo. If anyone here heard about it or participated in it, please tell us in the chat. This was a duo of two Australian drag ladies, and they played bingo with us. I sadly didn't win anything, but I never win anything at bingo. That's like one of my lifelong regrets. And they were just so much fun. We just sang, we danced, we played bingo, all from this chair. And then we were able to prioritize wellness. Some of our board members were telling us just how they were like stretching, doing all the wellness activities. I spent a lot of time on the puppy cams and just little things to just take screen breaks and still stay engaged. And Mark knows this more than anyone else, how we've been working on a conference handbook for mental wellness, and that's been really useful. And we're planning to double down on our wellness efforts as we go along through the year and into 2021, where our nightmare, yours and mine, has just continued. Another factor is to think at all times about the end users. Who are the consumers of the great technology that is built within the ecosystem? At EU Virtual, 45% of attendees came from an end user organization. An end user organization is anyone who is a consumer rather than producer of cloud native tech. As I'll talk in a second, there's a virtuous cycle that's blurring the lines, but think of it as large web scale companies, the Fortune 5000 that utilize Kubernetes, that utilize our observability stack, all of those things. Some great examples of end users who are actually members of CNCF would be Spotify, Audi, Zalando, and so many others that you have heard of and know very well. I could show you a logo wall, but that can get boring pretty soon. The good news is that we are keeping on increasing the number of folks that are coming from end user organizations, because KubeCon Cloud NativeCons are critical to education and learning. We had 3,598 end user companies represented. I'm really proud of these numbers. So the thing is, why is this focus on end user critical? Well,
in today's time, in the 5 years since Cloud Native has been a thing, a lot has changed where at first when we were talking to end users, it was conversations around, oh, what is microservices? What's containerization? What are microservices? Sorry, I already said that. What is Kubernetes? Today, they have moved fast. They have adopted cloud native technology, have pushed it to the boundaries, and know exactly where the gaps lie. These people can tell you better than anyone else what your product roadmap should be. And the key is that these people need to be in the conversation. So at CNCF, we have given end users a formal role. They work in special interest groups and working groups where they come together, give feedback to projects, have publish research on their experiences in various technology verticals. One of the latest ones we did was on observability. We did one on continuous delivery. And all of this comes together to help other people as they are making the journey and the decisions. With a focus on end users, you end up with a virtuous cycle. The end users give feedback to project creators and maintainers on what's working, what's not working. That gets incorporated, and vendors or enhancers provide value-add solutions on top. Along this journey, end users are discovering gaps sometimes that they believe they need to solve in the moment of time they're in. So a phenomenal example of end user innovation would be Envoy from Lyft, Jaeger from Uber, and latest Backstage, which is a service catalog from Spotify. So when there is need, the end users are becoming project creators. Sometimes they go on to build startups on top of that. Sometimes they stay at their end user companies. There's all sorts of things happening. And what that means with this virtuous cycle is that our empathy for each other is increasing. Another thing that's helped us go through this move to online is to think in terms of minimum viable changes. This is a term that I learned and really internalized in my previous role at GitLab. Minimum viable changes is exactly what it says. The smallest amount of changes you need to make to release that is viable for better experience. So based on attendee feedback, we've worked on some minimum viable changes for North America, which, as Mark asked, is that going to be a nightmare? And my answer is no, come join us. We're going to have a lot of fun. We had feedback that folks had a terrible time with the schedule builder. And so we've changed that to make it integrated fully. We had to make a lot of backend changes to do that. It wasn't a very Captain Obvious change, or we would have done it for EU, but we've achieved this goal. Everybody needs to feel that belonging, and gifts, swag just make us feel like we're part of the story in the moment. So everyone now is going to get swag when they register for KubeCon Cloud NativeCon. Or they have the option to donate. Like, you don't want the swag? Let us know and we'll donate it to charity. Another thing we're thinking about, and I'm sure everyone's dealing with this right now, is just how do you avoid screen fatigue? We're making content more digestible, and we've shortened the days and added breaks because we're all human beings here staring at screens. And probably one of the most important things is expanding the 101 track. As I said, so many end user folks have been coming, more and more every year. We actually had 70% first-time attendees at KubeCon EU. The number of people we have to educate and bring into the fold is growing. So 101 track becomes critical. And it's more and more deeper as we go. There's actually a really fun video I'm releasing on Friday. Oh, that's tomorrow. Which talks about the 101 track. We're going to do it on the CNCF Twitch channel. So please show up at 11 a.m. Pacific for a fun video on the KubeCon Cloud NativeCon 101 track and just other cool conversations. The place to go is twitch.tv/CloudNativeFDN, so Cloud Native Foundation. So we did all these changes. We're incrementally going on working. We had for in person, we had 7,700 registrations last year. This year, we had an 84% increase with 18,700 plus registrants. And the key here is that 70% of those people were attending and 60% spent 10 hours or more on the platform. Our conference is different than others. Just being a foundation, we have to charge ticket prices, and that changes the numbers that we see, but that also shows that almost everyone attends. We made a beautiful Kubernetes logo with the virtual booth photos. It's so pretty. I think I should make it one of my Zoom backgrounds. So another conversation that I had and continue to have is how do we foster cloud native growth in a virtual world? So much of our effort, people have been used to working together in person, like teams in person, events in person, meetings in person. How do we foster this growth and not go in a downhill spiral? Well, first of all, I'll ask you this. Does your organization use cloud native technologies? My guess would be yes. And in that world, what we have seen that cloud native has become the de facto standard for all industries. The interesting thing is that the current climate and strange world only accelerates this trend. What we have seen that production in containers in production have increased to 92% in the cloud native survey of 2020, up from 84% last year, but more than 300% from the first survey we did in 2016. Containers are on the rise, and the growth will only continue. The future of the cloud native movement and the way people develop software for the web has been changing, and it will continue to evolve. Every day we have conversations about where is the buck going. With the COVID-19 pandemic, there's been an acceleration because more and more workloads have moved online. So just that much more compute is needed. And when you go for cloud computing, you go for cloud native. 60% of respondents to the State of the Cloud report have said that cloud usage has been increasing what prior plans were because of the pandemic. And just so you know, in terms of the cloud native growth continuing strong, 6.5 million developers exist who are now cloud native. There are 2.7 using Kubernetes specifically, and 4 million using serverless and cloud functions. 60% of backend developers, a majority, now use containers. They're comfortable with it. So growth continues strong. And this growth is creating more opportunities for TeamCloudNative. We are, oh, sorry. So I have a bell ringing because my dog needs to go for his walk. I'm so sorry. I will be right back in 1 second. Hold that thought, folks. I'm back. Sorry. As the nightmare before Christmas, I had to eat the dog walker. So sorry for the delay. Okay. So as I was saying, this growth is creating a lot of opportunities. My goal as the general manager is to ensure that we keep growing the number of contributors we bring into the fold. We keep ensuring projects are progressing and we attract more official members. Most importantly, I want to support each and every one of you. We are Team Cloud Native together. We're a foundation of doers and we will continue and be resilient. You have proven this already. You have shown how strong you are. We just got to keep going. As I was saying, spoke too soon. All of us are strong. All of us are fighting through this. As we think about a post-COVID world, what would it look like? Our lives have gone remote and our challenges have gone global. We're constantly evolving every day. And open source, in my opinion, was truly built for today. It has the power and potential to change the way we operate, bring learning to a lot of different communities on how collaboration and innovation goes together, how giving more people a voice will bring better results. What we need from each other today is a commitment to Cloud Native, a commitment to each other. You made this commitment long ago and you have been honoring it ever since. You use Cloud Native tech, you attend talks like these, you show up to the events, you create, you produce, you blossom. Just keep being you. And that will make our post-COVID world just that much more beautiful. So looking into my crystal ball, what are the trends that are going to shape the next few years? This greater demand for compute resources is going to outlive the pandemic. The rise for DevSecOps will continue because security becomes that much more important. We're actively working on edge and IoT use cases, and Kubernetes has got projects to support. There's more diversity, and development is more diverse because every contribution is important. And at the end of the day, the open source innovation is going to be driven by end user communities. As a foundation, we are here to support and empower everyone with education, with enablement. We do certifications and training programs. We help people with new development opportunities. We bring companies together for co-development and collaboration to change the way computing is done in our industry. My guideline principle is to say yes to opportunities, yes to people, yes to ideas. So reach out to me whenever you have suggestions. Our core mission at CNCF is to make cloud native computing ubiquitous. That was true before the pandemic, and it is still true today. And a not so scary ending is that every contribution has value. Yours, mine, Mark's beautiful get up today. He put effort in for Team Cloud Native. That's real effort. I showed up here and talked to you and you listened to me. That's real effort. The success of technologies lies in constant iteration and a passion for our end users' success. And we're building that here in Team Cloud Native. I'm so honored that I've been able to help this community and step up into the role of a leader through a very challenging time. And I will continue to work my hardest for each and every one of you. And speaking of working hardest, I'm working really hard on KubeCon Cloud NativeCon North America right now. And that is in 2 weeks. And I would love to see each and every one of you there. This is the link. Show up, sign up, and be there. Goodbye and have a happy Halloween. Thank you so much.
Priyanka, thank you so much. We're right up against the top of the half hour, so we don't have time for questions, but I just want to read out some of the praise you're getting in the Slack right now. Live talks for the win, dogs first, talks later. Someone's saying, what the hell, such a COVID moment to go and have to let the dog walker in. People saying that drag queen bingo was hilarious, how much they miss in-person KubeCons, but how much they're enjoying the virtual events. You know, the Software Circus has been through a similar challenge. We're trying to bring the fun here. And I think, you know, on a personal note, it's been really amazing to see the job that you've done at the CNCF since you took over. I would encourage you to go back into Brella and look at all the love you're getting a little bit later. The dog moment really made it for me.
I'm sorry.
And that was perfect. But yeah, thank you so much. And please do go back and have a look there. Obviously, you can find Priyanka in the CNCF Slack. Also, obviously, always on Twitter. We've been having a very engaging conversation about cakes recently that I suggest everyone becomes a part of. And yeah, you know, I've been involved in the CNCF since right at the beginning, and how you've all been able to pull it together to shift to this virtual world has been really inspiring. So thank you so much for that, Priyanka, and continue doing the great work.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you for all your contributions to Team Cloud Native. Goodbye, everyone,
Cool.
from the nightmare before Christmas.
From the nightmare before Christmas. And we all hope the dog is okay. Okay, so since we're up against it, some official announcements for a moment. Up next here in channel 3, track 3, sorry, is Software Circus TV. Just let me in. We've got Dan Pop from the Pop Podcast and Kat Cosgrove who are going to be doing entertaining things over there for 15 minutes. Then we're coming back to the main talks again. Just before you all run over there, I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsors, Equinix, Cycloid, Giant Swarm, Instana, and Kinfolk. Their people are still in the booths. And a big shout out to Container Solutions, not only for all the behind the scenes work that's going on today that Jamie spoke about earlier, but also for sponsoring the 200 t-shirt giveaway that you heard about. Thank you once again to Priyanka. Head over to track 3 now, and we will see you back here or in track 2 for the next breakout sessions in what is now 13 minutes. Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.